We are live in Ottawa, where Mark Carney's been sworn in as Canada's Prime Minister. A ceremony continues this noon hour, where members of his cabinet are also being sworn in.
Our message, we're a very focused government, focused on action. We're going to get work straight to work.
Mark Carney speaking to reporters this morning on his way into Rideau Hall, where he's now been sworn in as Canada's 24th Prime Minister. Good afternoon. Carney assumes power at a time of great uncertainty and anxiety for Canadians who are facing those U.S. tariffs and threats to our sovereignty.
The former Bank of Canada governor took the oath of office just after 11 o'clock during a ceremony at Rideau Hall.
I, Mark Carney, do solemnly and sincerely promise and swear that I will truly and faithfully, and to the best of my skill and knowledge, execute the powers and trust reposed in me as Prime Minister.
Carney becomes PM after a resounding victory last Sunday in the Liberal leadership race. He has vowed to keep retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods in place until the Americans show Canada some respect. It is believed Carney will call a snap election within the next 2 weeks. If that doesn't happen, opposition parties say they will bring down the minority government in a confidence vote.
A new federal cabinet is also being sworn in right now. The Prime Minister decided to go with a smaller group than Trudeau's 37-member team. The ministers now playing key roles in Canada's response to the U.S. tariffs are remaining in cabinet, but Dominique LeBlanc becomes Minister of International Trade and Intergovernmental Affairs. François-Philippe Champagne replaces him as Finance Minister, and Mélanie Joly stays on as Foreign Affairs Minister. Some other notables include Chrystia Freeland taking over as Minister of Transport and Internal Trade. Kamal Khera is the new Health Minister, and Bill Blair remains Minister of National Defense. The cabinet has 24 members, including Carney. 8 ministers will not be back after saying they won't be running in the next election. The first meeting of the new cabinet is scheduled for 2 o'clock this afternoon. And standing by is CTV's Mike Walker, who's been gauging public reaction to all the changes. Mike.
Well, Nathan, we're getting mixed reaction here at Wally's Grill in Etobicoke. This is the restaurant that now Prime Minister Mark Carney met with Premier Doug Ford back on Wednesday after Carney won the Liberal leadership. And what dominated that discussion was tariffs, and it's dominating the discussion over breakfast here this morning. People telling us they're concerned about the impact the trade war is having on the economy, on their investments, on their retirement. Some tell us, given Mark Carney's experience as the Governor of the Bank of Canada, that they like his ability to deal with this issue and to potentially stand up to U.S. President Donald Trump. But others tell us that a change in Liberal leadership is not the change Canada needs right now. Here's more from people we spoke with this morning.
Carney will run a very strong campaign. He will get rid of carbon tax. There's no question about that. More importantly, we need somebody that's a business-oriented, fiscally responsible individual, and Carney fits that bill for me.
I think Canada has a wonderful opportunity to come forward in this one, and Canada will pull their weight. There'll be a good, strong team that goes to work in Ottawa. And then they're going to work with the rest of the world.
I don't think either one of them is capable of running the country. So, I don't know, it's the lesser of all evils. So the carbon tax, if Carney's going to leave it in, then I'm voting Conservative. If he takes it off, I'm up in the air as to what I'm doing.
I think Poilievre has really had a chance to describe himself, but I think we'll hear a lot from him in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
So hard as everybody's talking about it, I hope we can get out of this nicely. So we're suffering right now as the prices or everything is going lower, the market is low.
Now, one thing we heard over and over again from people this morning, regardless of where they sway politically or who they support, is that they would like to see an election called as soon as possible. And it's been reported, it's widely expected that that could be coming down in the coming days or weeks. Reporting live in Etobicoke, I'm Mike Walker. Nathan Nally, back to you.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Let's bring in CTV's Scott Hurst now with more on Carney and his new cabinet. Scott, do we expect, what will Carney's first order of business be?
Good morning. Good afternoon, Natalie. We've been following along to this all morning as they're a little over halfway into the swearing-in ceremony, not just for the Prime Minister, but of course his pick for cabinet. Now, Mark Carney takes over as Prime Minister at an incredibly difficult time, lots of uncertainty, and the potential for significant upheaval in our country. As we all know, our closest ally and largest trading partner governor has been actively undermining our sovereignty and taking aim at our economy. So really the first course of action will be dealing with the Trump administration and the threat of tariffs, as we've been seeing the Liberal government continue to do throughout this transition process. Just yesterday, of course, we saw some ministers down in Washington, D.C. for a meeting with some of the Trump administration officials. But very soon after, you can expect an election call to follow, likely sometime late next week before Parliament resumes, most likely is what many are expecting, and that is the week after next on Monday, March 24th, because the opposition parties have vowed to bring this government down, a vote of non-confidence, as soon as Parliament resumes. So we're expecting an election call, likely late next week, but of course dealing with the Trump administration and all the uncertainty will be top of the agenda. Now, the Liberals have seen quite a bump in support through the Liberal leadership campaign. According to many pollsters, they've seen their fortunes turn around, as they've been for quite a long time before that, significantly dropping in the polls compared to the Conservatives. However, when it comes to the number of MPs, that might be in terms of projected seats in the House of Commons, the Conservatives right now would still be in the driver's seat if an election were held today. So we are expecting an election call quite soon, Natalie.
And Scott, we see that Carney has a much smaller cabinet than Trudeau. A lot of familiar faces, but still a decent shuffle here. Walk us through who will be playing key roles in this government. Yeah,
quite pared down compared to what we've been used to under Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. He had 37 ministers. This consists of 23 ministers in addition to the Prime Minister. And we did hear from Mark Carney walking into Rideau Hall before the swearing-in ceremony, saying he'll be focused on action and getting straight to work. Now, some of the big names that you've touched on that have been shifted around or staying in their portfolio or not involved in this cabinet altogether. François-Philippe Champagne takes over as Finance Minister. Chrystia Freeland, of course, she left the role of Finance Minister late last year. She'll be taking over the transport file and internal trade. Gary Anandasangari, a Toronto MP, will be taking over the file as Justice Minister. Stephen Guilbeault, who's been quite a controversial figure when it comes to the consumer carbon tax, will become Quebec Lieutenant and will become the Minister of Canadian Culture and Identity. Anita Anand will become the Minister of Innovation, Science and Industry. Melanie Joly will stay on her file as Foreign Affairs Minister. Bill Blair stay on as Minister of National Defence. Now, a few key names that have been left out of this cabinet include Karina Gould, former Government House Leader and Liberal leadership contender, Jean-Yves Duclos, Mark Miller, also not part of this cabinet. Mark Holland, former health minister, says he is leaving politics, not part of this cabinet as well. So quite a shuffle, quite a pared down cabinet compared to what we've seen. But as we heard from Prime Minister Carney heading into this event, he said this is a group that'll be focused on action. They'll get straight to work. But of course, we're waiting for that potential election call very soon.
Okay, CTV Scott Hurst. Thank you, Scott, for the latest on the cabinet shuffle out of Ottawa.
Thanks, Natalie.
More news in a moment, but first, here's a live look at the city this afternoon. Another gorgeous day out there to wrap up March break for the kids. Jessica Smith is here with a look at the current conditions, just bright and beautiful on this Friday.
It's that kind of sweet spot, right, where it's still really cool out there, but just warm enough where you can be out skating and you don't need all those extra layers. Hold on to this, because we are going to change a little bit heading into the weekend for the better, but it is going to come with some active weather. For now, though, just a few clouds out there, lots of sunshine, and a really light wind, making for one of those beautiful, perfect kind of early spring days to spend some time outdoors. Already pretty warm. We're at double digits through Owen Sound. They're at 11. Niagara sitting at 12 degrees, and it's warm through Windsor as well, sitting at 14 as we step in towards the afternoon. Now, right now, through the islands over towards Pearson, between about 6 and 9 degrees. It's a little sunnier downtown, a little more cloud cover through Pearson. This afternoon, we'll hit about 10 degrees. We should be at 5 for this time of year, but we're watching out for something that's on the way this weekend. Some special weather statements in place for Saturday for those areas in yellow for 20 to 40 millimeters. Right now, Toronto not under any watches or warnings, but that could change with the second round of rain coming on Sunday. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast, including this rain that comes just in time for the weekend. But right now, it's back over to Nathan.
All right, thank you, Jess.
Thanks.
The province is police watchdogs investigating a serious crash in Mississauga. On Wednesday, Halton police were attempting to stop a GMC Hummer, which was suspected in a car theft when it collided with a tractor trailer. It happened near Winston Churchill and Lakeshore Road. Police arrested the 26-year-old driver, and he was transported to hospital with serious injuries. The SIU has assigned 3 investigators to the case.
6 suspects are wanted after an armed home invasion in Grimsby. Video from the home security cameras obtained by CTV News shows the suspects using hammers to break into the home near Winston Road and Kelson Avenue early yesterday morning. Niagara Regional Police say the suspects demanded keys to several high-end vehicles from the occupant, but they were unable to steal them because of anti-theft devices installed by the owner. The suspects then fled the scene. And Peel police have arrested a second person in a fatal shooting in Brampton last April. 24-year-old Dennis McLean of Toronto is charged with first-degree murder and conspiracy to obstruct justice. A youth was previously arrested for first-degree murder. 30-year-old Javon Harris-Smith died after he was shot outside his residence in the Finnegan Circle and Sudley Lane area. Investigators say it was later determined that he was not the intended target.
Barrie police are sharing this video after the theft of 2 pickup trucks. A suspect approaches the front door of this home at around 2:27 Thursday morning. They can be seen holding up a wired device. A few moments later, they drive off with the truck. Now, police say this was the second pickup truck theft in as many days. And G7 foreign ministers are wrapping up their meeting in Quebec today. Peace and stability was the main focus of the talks, including in Ukraine and the Indo-Pacific region. Donald Trump's trade and economic policies were a key issue in bilateral meetings at the gathering. Host Melanie Jolie spoke to reporters this morning.
To all the American friends here today, my message is clear. Trump tariffs are bad for American people. They're bad because ultimately they cost more for them at the pump, at the grocery store, when they want to build a new home, so construction, etc. And this will drive inflation, and this can hurt many American people's jobs. So there are no winners in trade wars.
Canada holds the rotating G7 presidency this year, and a national leaders summit will take place in Alberta in June.
Premier Doug Ford says he's optimistic the temperature of the trade war with our southern neighbors will cool down after meeting with U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick in Washington.
This, I can honestly say, was the best meeting I've ever had coming down here.
Why do you say that? Why?
Well, because I feel we, and I keep saying we feel like the temperature's come down. I'm not commenting on their behalf. We also know we're an extremely important trading partner, I'd say top tier in the world to the United States, and how we can continue working together to support each other.
Ford and Federal Finance Minister Dominic LeBlanc met face-to-face with Lutnick amid the ongoing trade war. The meeting was held after U.S. President Donald Trump backed off of his threat to double tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum. That came after Ford paused his plan to put a surcharge on electricity exports to the U.S. Ford told reporters afterward that another meeting's been set up for next week. A growing number of Canadians say they have no plans to travel to the United States during this trade war.
But what about Americans? CTV's Paul Hollingsworth has more on the U.S. visitors still traveling north.
A trip to Nova Scotia every summer from his home in Delaware is a tradition for Arthur Elston and his wife. This year is no different.
Our best friends live up there. We're going to come up and visit them for a couple weeks, and we enjoy being with them.
Elston won't be alone.
Group travel and cruise ship travel is increasing from the United States.
Even as trade war tensions rise between Canada and the U.S., bookings are up. Nova Scotia is expecting a heavy volume of American visitors this summer.
We're 40.5% increase in sales over last year to date.
The dollar's exchange rate appears to be too good to pass up.
They'd like to vacation. They'd like to come to Canada. They'd like to take advantage of that 69-cent Canadian dollar and spend their money here.
If Americans are choosing Atlantic Canada as a preferred summer destination, in Quebec, it seems Canadian pride is boosting tourism. According to the Quebec Tourism Industry Alliance, 45% of the people who had planned a trip to the U.S. have canceled. 49% of those plan to vacation in Quebec, which could boost provincial tourism by $1.5 billion.
We don't need their lumber.
As for U.S. President Donald Trump's attitude towards Canada, Elston is taking the high road and is tuning him out.
I'm not a big fan of what he's doing, but, you know, it's not going to affect what I do.
At this stage of life, he wants to spend quality time with his friends and is not concerned about politics. Paul Hollingsworth, CTV News, Halifax.
Comic-Con has made its return to Toronto.
The annual comic book and pop-up culture convention is taking over the Metro Convention Centre. CTV's Scott Lightfoot is live with more. Hey, Scott, how are things going?
You know, Nathan, there's no shortage of things to do down here. Really, no shortage of things to see. It's head on a swivel. I don't know who half these characters are, but there is so much going on down here. Tens of thousands of people expected to pass through the Metro Toronto Convention Centre this weekend as part of the annual Comic-Con. It is probably fair to say that most of them will be dressed up in some form of fashion. Lots of costumes, lots of wigs, lots of makeup on display here. Now, attendees can check out celebrity appearances, cosplay, comics, anime, sci-fi, horror, animation, gaming. There are also panels, demos, workshops, and there's plenty of merchandise and memorabilia for sale here as well. But, you know, most of the attendees that we spoke to this morning said it's not really about any of that. It's really just all about community.
The most exciting part for me is getting into the cosplays. It gives me a chance to express the characters I like and meet other people from the same fandoms who like the same characters as me.
I really get to express myself, dress up how I want to, and it's like very friendly environment and stuff, and it's just an enjoyable place to be.
Everyone kind of just joins together, and like, you know, even if you have a niche, everyone's here. You can find someone who likes what you like, and it's community. You find a community here.
So this is the opening day. The event runs until 7 tonight. It's open 10 until 8 tomorrow, and then it runs 10 to 5 on Sunday. Ellie, Nathan, I'll throw it back to you. I have never felt so out of touch in my whole life.
Well, where's your costume, Scott? That's what we want to know.
I haven't found one yet. I'll have one maybe for 6. We'll see if I can borrow something. We'll see.
We'll eagerly await. Thanks so much, Scott. Well, the 26th annual St. Patrick's Day Parade will take place along the Bayview Extension on Sunday. Participants will gather at the Evergreen Brickworks, head south on Bayview and west on Rosedale Valley Road before turning around and heading back along the same route. Road closures will be in effect from 9 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. The parade will take place rain or shine. If you are driving in the area, do expect delays.
Well, a good thing it happens rain or shine because it is likely to rain as we head in towards the weekend as we watch the remnants of a Colorado low making its way in. But for now, we're focused on the sunshine, and temperature-wise, it is significantly above seasonal. Yesterday, we got up to 7.9. Today, we're looking to reach about 10 degrees. As we head into the afternoon, we'll hold on to that warmth and a very light southeasterly wind, and we've got a UV index. It's on the moderate side, but it counts, so put on that sun protection. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast. We'll break down the rain this weekend and what you can expect heading into next week.
And we want to take you back to Ottawa, where the swear-in ceremony is wrapping up. Let's listen in live. All right, the ceremony is just wrapped up. We hear the applause. Of course, the big news, Mark Carney, now officially the 24th Prime Minister of this country. There was a cabinet shuffle as well, and we'll give you more details at 6 o'clock tonight.
Well, harsh and cold conditions along with a lack of infrastructure are among the limitations facing Canada's military when operating in the far north while trying to secure Canada's vulnerable Arctic.
But a new project is working to open up much of Canada's north to heavy aircraft, and W5's John Woodward was there.
The heavy lift Chinook helicopter's blades can send a downwash that is impossible to ignore. And on the Arctic tundra, that air mixes with snow, warns pilot Alex Moore.
You always got to assume that the snow is going to blind you, and that can be very dangerous for us. It's a threat you got to respect at all times.
But there are advantages. The dense, cold air helps these helicopters lift more. That will help today. They're carrying an unusual cargo. 3 snowmobiles and other equipment wedged carefully in the cargo bay of the Chinook, piloted by Captain Jonathan Vokey.
The skidoos that they're using are the primary workhorse of using the grooming kit that they have for constructing that ski landing area.
A ski landing area, an audacious project to turn a frozen Arctic lake into an airport capable of lifting a Hercules aircraft, one of the largest airplanes in the world. And we are along for the ride to Parsons Lake, about 60 kilometers north of Inuvik. All of this part of Operation Nanook, the Canadian military exercises to demonstrate power in the north amid a time of global upheaval. Once unloaded, the snowmobiles will start compacting the snow for a new airstrip. But the Canadian Rangers, the military's northern experts who are riding those snowmobiles, also have other duties.
We're here to keep them from being eaten by wolves and dying of cold.
The Rangers mount up to head to camp, and the Chinook arrives to pick us up.
The downdraft from these helicopter blades is so strong you can lean into it, and it's incredibly loud.
A white whirlwind we have to brave to make it back to Inuvik. When we return a few days later, it's in a Twin Otter.
The Twin Otter took off from the Inuvik airport using wheels. It's just deployed its skis so we can land on a frozen lake.
From the air, we can see the work the snowmobiles have done to build 6,000 feet of landing area. The Twin Otter lands in the new runway and taxis to the Parson Lake camp to meet Major Joe Shanahan of the U.S. Air Force.
Now we're able to go further inland, land on freshwater, resupply anybody, bring troops into a much larger area than we had before.
And it could open up a huge part of Canada's north.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, there's lakes all over the north here.
The Hercules aircraft appears overhead and touches down. A successful trial the Canadian Armed Forces believes could be replicated on many frozen lakes that dot Canada's far north.
All right, let's talk about the weather forecast. The sun is back. It's a really lovely day to end, I guess, the March break for the kids. But the weekend's going to be a little bit different.
Well, I was driving here today with the windows down, thinking I could get used to this, but the weekend, bit of a different story.
Listen, it stays double digits, it just gets a little rainy out there. But we're at that time of year where it's dusty and dirty outside from all that snow melting. So we need the rain to quite literally wash away all of that leftover kind of remnants of winter. As we step in towards the weekend, though, yes, there is rain, but it won't rain on the parade. Well, it will technically, but it shouldn't stop anything. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm. Injury lawyers, you don't pay unless they win. Now, lots of sunshine out there to start the day. A nice light wind, a beautiful sunrise out there. The shot from our chopper early on this morning. And we're holding on to the sunshine for the most part throughout the day. A few light clouds into the afternoon and evening, but overall, it is a fantastic way to end the week. And I know we're signing off from March break for a lot of folks, so it's a beautiful way to kind of step in towards the weekend. The weekend does come with some rain, but we stay into the double digits. Right now, sitting at 9 degrees here in the city, 14 through Windsor, a little cooler the further east you go, but overall, it's not too bad. We are watching, though, for the remnants of a Colorado low pushing its way through, and it's going to impact parts of southern Ontario to start the weekend and the rest as we end the weekend. But for today, lots of sunshine, 10 degrees. We should be at 5, almost everybody in the double digits. London at 18, the same for our friends over in Niagara, so not a bad day to maybe head out towards Niagara Falls. Temperature-wise this evening, holding on well above seasonal, sitting at 8 degrees. We should be at -4, so it is relatively mild start to finish with a really light easterly or southeasterly wind. Now, we will see some cloud cover push in, and we're watching for the rain that rolls in on Saturday. Now, this is for the rain on Saturday. Right now, not impacting Toronto and the GTA, but we will likely see that change as we head in towards Sunday. But this special weather statement is for 20 to 40 millimeters throughout the day on Saturday. When you get that much rain, the potential for a little bit of flooding is there, so we'll keep an eye on that. The heavier rain for the GTA and the downtown core does come on Sunday. We get a dose of it Saturday, but the bulk of it for us is going to be to end the weekend. Again, throughout the day today, quite beautiful. We step into the start of the day tomorrow. It's not bad. There's that first wave of rain, the second one right behind it, rolling in just in time for your Sunday. But as we head throughout our day today, for the most part, just a few light clouds, high-level clouds, so really still quite beautiful outside, and we're hitting that 10-degree mark as we head in towards the afternoon. Your Saturday starts off not too bad. We see that first wave of rain that's really heavy from Owen Sound all the way down to London. We're looking at some embedded thunderstorms in that as well. For us in the GTA, it rolls in late morning, early afternoon. Then we get a break. And we have another likelihood of rain rolling through as we head in towards the evening. And this is the beginning of the heavier round of rain that rolls overnight Saturday throughout the day on Sunday. So if you do have plans, maybe you're heading to the parade, maybe you're wrapping up your weekend with your family, you'll want to maybe bring the rain gear with you for spending time outside, or just avoid outside altogether, because we're looking at showers heavy, widespread right across southern Ontario Sunday morning right through to the afternoon. Maybe a little break for the lunch hour, but the bulk of that rain is not gone until late afternoon, early evening, and then we get a break from all the cloud cover and the rain. So today is really quite beautiful, 10 degrees, lots of sunshine, a light wind. We step in towards your Saturday, the rain likely to roll in a few different waves, one midday, another one into the evening. That carries us overnight into our Sunday, but temperature-wise, it really is quite beautiful. As we head in towards Sunday evening, because temperatures drop, there's the chance of maybe a little bit of light mixing, mostly just a wet snow, if anything, but nothing likely to accumulate. And then we step into St. Patrick's Day. We go on towards our Monday, 6 degrees, so it's a little cooler but sunny. And then as we get ready to officially welcome in spring on Thursday, a little bit of shower activity, but hey, it's not too bad. Nathan, I'll send things back over to you.
Not bad at all. Thank you, Jess.
Thanks.
The Leafs hosted the division-leading Florida Panthers last night.
Made waves in Utah, more waves than one on Monday night. There's Nylander back across, scores!
The game got off to a good start. John Tavares scored his 27th goal of the season early in the first period, but the Panthers rallied with 3 unanswered goals to take the lead and held on for a 3-2 win. The Leafs have dropped 4 of their last 5 and fall 4 points behind the Panthers in the Atlantic Division.
We're going to get some confidence out of this game because we started to play our best hockey in the third, and we're, all over them. So just got to find a way to put a full 60 together like that, and that's when we can start beating teams like that, because that's the measuring stick over there.
You always want to be better. Trust me, we got to push through this and get better. But, we competed hard, and it was a hard game.
The Leafs' next game is tomorrow when they host the Senators.
The Raptors will be looking to continue their winning ways tonight when they visit the Utah Jazz. Toronto is coming off a 118-105 victory over Philadelphia on Wednesday. It was the Raptors' second straight win. R.J. Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley are expected to return to the lineup tonight after they didn't play in the game against the 76ers. Tip-off is set for 9:30.
The Blue Jays will square off against the Houston Astros in spring training action tonight. Toronto beat the Baltimore Orioles 6-4 yesterday. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. had a pair of hits and an RBI, while Dalton Varsho launched a 2-run shot. The Jays have now won 5 straight preseason games and sit atop the Grapefruit League standings with a 12-6 record. A girls' basketball clinic is being held today in Thornhill, led by WNBA officials.
The goal is to showcase the future of women's basketball and elevate young athletes, and that's where we find CTV's Beth McDonnell, who joins us with more. Beth, how's it going?
It's going great. The WNBA's Toronto Tempo will be playing their first game next year, and there is a lot of excitement about professional women's basketball in the GTA. And today we're at a girls' basketball clinic. It's run through the Coalition Basketball League, which is a competitive basketball league here in Ontario. And these are grade 5 and grade 6 girls who are in that league, and they've signed up to be here today with leadership by an assistant coach from the Connecticut Sun. So there is a lot of excitement to learn from her, learn about the different opportunities in basketball, improve skills. And so to have this caliber of skills and training is really special for these girls. And later today, older girls are going to take the court. This clinic runs for girls all the way up through to the end of high school. Reporting live, I'm Beth McDonnell. Back to you.
Thank you, Beth. You're watching CTV News at noon. Stay with us.
Public Health Ontario says the number of cases of measles in the province has more than doubled in the past 2 weeks.
Here in Toronto, there have been 2 confirmed cases. CTV's health reporter Pauline Chan has expert advice on what to do if you have been exposed.
Toronto Public Health is currently warning the public about potential exposure to measles after a flight arrived on March 2nd from Tokyo, Japan. Anyone on Air Canada Flight 002, a direct flight from Tokyo to Toronto, or who was at Pearson International, Terminal 1, from 4:50 p.m. to 7:40 p.m. on March 2nd, may be affected.
Sounds like a super big window, but that's because measles is so infectious. It can float around in the air and still infect you 2 hours after the person with measles has left the room.
Dr. Elizabeth Ray says the first thing is to check your vaccination records to confirm you've received the required 2 doses of vaccine.
For the city of Toronto, this is only the 2nd person diagnosed with measles so far this year.
But many other communities have seen cases as well, such as Windsor, which recently sent out a public health notice about possible exposures at 3 locations on March 7th to 8th.
There are measles outbreaks declared in Southwest Ontario, in Northwest Ontario now. Through the GTA, there are individual people with measles. So that more than 140 so far this year is way more than the entire decade, 2013 to 2023.
Dr. Alan Grill, Chief of Family Medicine at Markham Stouffville Hospital, says measles was declared eradicated in Canada in 1998. Now,
we're starting to look out for any patient that comes to our office with the classic signs of measles. You know, they call it the 3 C's. There's cough, there's something called coryza, which is where you get this sort of runny nose, and conjunctivitis, sort of like, you know, red, watery eyes.
Canadian children are typically vaccinated against measles at 1 year of age, and they get a booster around 4 to 6 years of age.
That's the key. Ensure that the vaccine rates are high, 95+%, so we don't see community transmission when we get these inevitable imported cases.
And for the rare few who have no way to track down their vaccine records, experts say a 3rd dose, just to be sure, won't hurt you. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
Ottawa is offering a path to citizenship for so-called lost Canadians after missing a court-mandated deadline to address their situations. Back in 2009, the Conservative government changed the law so Canadians born abroad as citizens couldn't pass those rights down to future generations. Then in 2023, the Ontario Superior Court of Justice found the law was unconstitutional. Immigration Minister Mark Miller says Ottawa is asking for a 12-month extension to get a related law passed, with the court's deadline to do so coming next week. But those affected by the change in rules can now apply for citizenship on a discretionary basis.
While many start to slow down in their 50s, one Quebec woman is defying the odds as she gears up to represent Canada at an international gymnastics competition.
CTV's Sweta Rashi with a remarkable tale.
Yes. As a master's level gymnast, Milda Graham can flip, tumble, and do cartwheels with ease. She's keeping up with people less than half her age. She's 59.
And then they see me tumbling, and then they're like, wait. So it's really fun to kind of push the boundaries of people's expectations.
The gymnast has always loved the sport, playing competitively on and off for decades.
Something kept pulling me back. I think it was my inner child. Just really loved gymnastics as a kind of a pure expression.
Warming up and doing stretches is a vital part of her routine. Graham says the key is listening to your body.
You get a personal teaching experience of your own body to understand what you must accommodate.
Graham has a serious competitive side too. In May, she will be competing at an international gymnastics competition in Germany. And although she was born in the U.S., Graham is hoping to bring back a medal for Canada.
I've made my home in Montreal. I love Montreal, and the idea that I'm representing in this climate something that's really passionate to my identity and my locale and my community is off the charts for me.
Up and come down. That's the best. Perfect solution. Her coach, Andrea Ropoleski, couldn't be more proud.
I can't even describe it. I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled for Milda. She works hard for it. She always shows up. If anyone deserves to represent Canada, she does.
And while the world of gymnastics might look a certain way, Graham is hoping her story inspires change.
I feel like I'm standing up for, women and women's bodies.
Proving that age is truly just a number. Sweta Rassi, CTV News.
Canadian music icon Anne Murray is set to receive a major honor at this year's Juno Awards.
Spread your tiny wings and fly away.
The Canadian Academy of Recording Arts and Sciences announced Murray will receive the Lifetime Achievement Award presented by the National Arts Centre. Organizers say Murray is the first artist to receive the award, which has not been given out since Pierre Junot received it in 1989. This year's Juno Awards will be handed out Sunday, March 30th.
Still to come on CTV News at noon is the buy local push leaving strawberries on the shelves. Demand drops for some U.S. products as Canadians flex their purchasing power.
Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
A Canadian woman who has been detained in the United States for 12 days is pleading for her release. The BC woman was trying to cross from Mexico into California when she was stopped over what she calls a visa issue.
CTV's Alex Carper talked to Jasmine Mooney to get her side of the story.
I've been here detained in different jails for 11 days now, and I haven't been talked to by a single person.
Jasmine Mooney, pictured here in happier days, managed to connect with a phone call from a regional detention center in Arizona.
It's the most inhumane thing I've ever seen.
My name is Jasmine Mooney.
Mooney says she was living in Los Angeles working for a beverage company called Holy Water when her visa was revoked. She's not sure why, but is guessing it had to do with what she was selling.
They had an issue with one of the ingredients in one of the products, and it was hemp, and I had no idea that that would be an issue.
Mooney was in Mexico and attempted to enter at a San Diego border crossing where she says she got her first visa approved. She was hoping to get another. Instead, she was detained.
I was in an immigration office reapplying for my work visa to America, which I previously had, and without any warning about what was about to transpire.
She's since been moved from San Diego to Arizona, where she says she's sharing a massive jail cell.
The food is not food. The water is disgusting. I didn't eat for the first 6 days because I knew I would get sick.
Alexis Eagles, Jasmine's mother in Abbotsford, BC, is desperate to get her daughter out.
We just aren't getting any results. We're very concerned about the living conditions that Jasmine is in right now, and we just want her home.
Global Affairs Canada told CTV News they are aware of Mooney's detention and are working to gather more information from American authorities. The family has started a petition and online pleas for Mooney's release.
It doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem like something needs to be done. We can't just leave her there.
Alex Carper, CTV News, Winnipeg.
As a trade war with the U.S. wages on, there is a battle being fought in supermarket aisles.
For consumers looking to support Canada, it can come at a cost. Many shoppers are determined to find something local amid the always changing trade war. But there's sticker shock in the produce aisle at some grocery stores. Strawberries from the U.S. on sale for $1.99. Not enough to entice some shoppers amid the trade war. A regular price would be around $4, and experts note it's still cheaper than Ontario greenhouse-grown strawberries. The director of Agri-Food Analytics Lab says the full shelves of U.S. discounted products are a sign of pressure building on grocers as Buy Canadian continues to gain momentum. This as major grocers continue to identify Canadian products with maple leaf labels, and now Loblaw is announcing it will use a T label to identify products affected by tariffs. The company's CEO says it will help consumers make informed choices. Loblaw has said prices could increase in the coming weeks, starting with produce. Charlevoix believes the uncertainty of the trade war is driving up the cost of everything. Experts questioning how long the buy domestic sentiment will last. For some, it's a matter of principle. For others, the increased costs may be too much. Food prices are projected to increase by up to 5% this year. That's an extra $800 for a family. Researchers say right now that still remains the case, even with taking the trade war into account. All right, my apologies. The clips were missing on that story, but you can get it online. To other news, it's going to be a busy concert season this summer with many big acts making stops in the GTA, including the K-pop band Blackpink.
The South Korean group has a loyal following, but some fans aren't happy about how tickets to their Toronto concerts were sold. CTV's Pat Foran has more.
Blackpink has been called one of the biggest girl bands in the world. The 4 members are all talented in their own way and have all had successful solo careers. But they've come together for a tour, something many fans have been waiting for.
This is the first time they gather again, so I was very excited to be able to watch all 4 of them.
Yihan Lua of Toronto wanted to see the group with her friend, and since there was only one Toronto show, July 22nd, she paid $1,000 each for 2 tickets, and she and her friend would be seated in different sections. But hours after she bought tickets, the band announced they were adding a second show for the next day. It meant Luau could have sat with her friend, and the tickets would have been much cheaper.
Right now, I think there's a lot of empty seats for the second show.
We just don't want to go anymore.
Chris Young of Markham and his wife both have birthdays in July and plan to take their children to see Blackpink. He paid almost $4,000 for 4 tickets, also in 2 different sections. When the second show was added, he and his family could have sat together at a much lower price.
I feel very upset and I feel very bad for my kids as well because we aren't able to sit together.
Both fans wanted refunds but couldn't get them. According to Ticketmaster's website, the artist sets their ticket prices and the artist plans their tour with their manager, agent, and promoter. Together, this group decides which venues to play and when to put tickets on sale.
I think for decades, artists were seriously undervaluing what the price of a concert was.
Eric Alper says concerts are now where artists make most of their revenue, and he doesn't blame them for charging what the market will pay.
They're not making that much money on music streaming services. They're not making that much money on places like YouTube offering their videos. Everything is more expensive.
Still, fans feel if an artist is going to play 2 shows in a city, they shouldn't say they're only going to play 1.
That's just unfair, and that's a deception to the consumers. We really feel cheated.
Pat Foran, CTV News.
Coming up, a celestial spectacle lit up the night sky last night. More on the rare blood moon after the break.
Quite the sight last night for anyone who had their eyes on the sky. A total lunar eclipse, also known as a blood moon, cast a red hue over Canada and much of the North and South America as well. The phenomenon occurs when the Earth is between the moon and the sun, and the moon passes through the shadow cast by our planet. The eclipse is the first of its kind since 2022. Unlike solar eclipses, lunar eclipses can be safely observed with the naked eye. We caught up with some people who stayed up late to enjoy the sight.
It's just the first time for me, so it's been really great to see nature at its best.
I thought it was incredible. We just got to watch the moon slowly turn black and then turn red again. It was definitely a worthwhile experience.
It's very gorgeous. It's my first time seeing it. I'm just here to see.
It was awesome. It was my first time seeing one, and I'm very glad I came out here at 3 a.m. to see it.
The blood moon had telescopes out in full force at York University. Astronomy students gathered on the rooftop of a parking garage on campus to study the celestial event.
Even though it is more usual than the solar eclipses, it is still an astronomical event. And astronomical events, even though they may happen plenty times at the year, there are opportunities to see what is going on beyond this Earth's atmosphere. I mean, what kind of wonders are happening outside our planet?
It's just fun. It's always fun to see the moon look of this beautiful red color. The moon is personally one of my favorite objects to observe, so whenever it's doing something interesting like turning red in the night sky, it's just fun to see.
And if you missed the lunar eclipse, you'll get another chance next year. The next one is set to occur March 2nd, 2026. Write that down.
NASA says global sea levels rose faster than anticipated last year. The agency says sea levels rose by almost 0.23 inches in 2024. That is more than the 0.17 inches that was expected. NASA says the increase was mainly due to an unusual amount of ocean warming, as well as the melting of glaciers and polar ice caps. Last year was the warmest year on record. Sea levels are now 4 inches higher than they were in 1993, which is when satellites began to record ocean height.
All right, to the forecast once again, and don't forget there's a parade this weekend.
Very good. Is it going to rain on the parade for St. Patty's Day is what we need to know.
So just bring your waterproof gear. Honestly, it's going to be so warm outside. We're looking at about 14 degrees, so a little rain ain't going to hurt nobody. You won't melt, I promise. It is going to be one of those days where we are watching for rain heavy at times on Sunday, so keep that in mind. But as we at least step into the weekend, it's dry for now, and we have lots of sunshine out there, but that rain is knocking on the door, so just get the rain gear handy. Right now, sitting at 9 degrees here in the city, double digits in some parts of southern Ontario, and that's the same for us, even with the rain as we head into the weekend. Will it be soggy? Yes. Will we be okay? Yes.
We'll pack a poncho.
Yeah.
Good to know. And that is CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jessica Smith and all of us here at CTV News, thank you for watching. I'm Natalie Johnson.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great afternoon.